Hey guys, it's Ray. Halloween was 6 days ago and this game came out 6 days ago. So, I know I'm late, let's just get started. Hey guys, how's life been? I do apologize for being late on this video. I've been having some difficult times in my own rights. Literally the day before this game came out, I broke up with my first love. She was never on this channel, so you guys don't really know her. So I guess this whole 30 seconds is just the time I leave for myself. So for those of you new on this channel, just skip ahead by roughly 30 or 40 seconds. I really thank her for the 3 years she spent with me. We started dating when I was 17 and now I'm 20. It was really some of the best time I've ever had, and she really taught me a lot on how to generally be a better person. We don't talk anymore, unfortunately, but for the rest of her life, I wish for the best of her. And yeah, sorry to bring out this negativity at the start of a video. If you are new around, I do apologize for hearing someone irrelevant talking about something irrelevant to the game for a whole minute. So, let's get to the game. Luigi's Mansion 3 is a typical Nintendo first-party title, and by that I mean both in the good ways and the bad ways. To put the conclusion out there first, this is one of the games where I didn't know how to review until quite late into the game. So let's start with the story. Luigi's Mansion is a third-person action-adventure title. The game starts with the whole Mario crew receiving an invitation to a luxurious hotel known as the Last Resort. They decided to go on vacation, and when they got there, they realized it was a trap set up by King Boo. With Mario, Peach, and all the Toads captured and locked in paintings, it's Luigi's turn to take over as the protagonist and save the rest of the crew. So where exactly do I start with this game? I guess I'll start with the two things I really like about this game, and the first one is the exploration element of it. So in this game there are two major collectibles, being 6 gems that's located on every single floor of the level, so on each floor there are 6 gems to collect, and boos, which I believe there's 16 of them. There should be a boo on each floor as well. I did get all the gems. Not flexing, I did have to check YouTube a few times, and I didn't get all the boos, but overall the exploration aspect of this game, exploring carefully to try and find every single corner for these collectibles, were one of the most enjoyable parts of this game for me. And secondly, I guess this is more of a general appreciation towards Nintendo themselves, but I do really appreciate Nintendo for making Luigi's Mansion a very different game compared to almost all the other Mario IPs. As someone who's never played the first or second Luigi's Mansion, I really didn't know what to expect before jumping into this game. I love almost all Nintendo IPs, but at its core, most first-party Nintendo games are kind of just twisted versions of Super Mario Bros. So Super Mario Bros. Obviously is probably the most successful series of the Super Mario IP, and it relies on a fast-paced 2D platforming. It requires you to have fast reflexes, difficult platforms, and that's kind of the core of the game ever since it was out on the NES. And now if we look at all the other first-party Nintendo games on the Nintendo Switch, Kirby Star Allies is a 2D platformer that supports multiplayer. Donkey Kong Country Tropical Freeze is a 2D platformer that supports multiplayer, and Yoshi's Crafted World is a 2D platformer that supports multiplayer. I'm not trying to bag any of these titles, in fact I have every single one of them and have played at least half of the game for every single one of those titles I just mentioned. So I'm not trying to bag it. What I'm trying to say is, through my understanding, I guess the core gameplay of all these first-party Nintendo titles are kind of just the Super Mario Bros. Formula with a little twist to itself. The only exception I can think of is Captain Toad Treasure Tracker, and funny enough, that's actually the game I enjoyed the most out of all the games I just mentioned. Anyways, we got a little off topic, so back to Luigi's Mansion. So as I was saying before, I really appreciate what Nintendo did with this game to make it so different from Super Mario Bros. And all the other games I just mentioned before. So at its core, Luigi's Mansion is actually a much slower title. It requires careful observation for collectibles, and when you finally find a gem after thoroughly searching every single corner of the room, it feels great. The game also has a unique feature to support this, and that is Dark Light mode. So this mode allows you to reveal hidden chests or items, and boy does it feel satisfying when you finally go like, that's really suspicious, shine the dark light, and a chest just pops out of nowhere. Now, I did say this game is very different from Super Mario Bros, but there are obviously their similarities, and one of the major ones is it supports co-op. And trust me, this game is a lot more fun when you play it in co-op. I had a friend over for the past few days and we played Luigi's Mansion together quite a bit. In co-op, one of the players will control Luigi while the other controls the gel version of Luigi called Gooigi. They have their own strengths and weaknesses. As an example, as Luigi is the main character, he is often the only character allowed to interact with certain items and has a stronger health bar, whereas with Gooigi, as it is, well, a goo, it can go through different places where Luigi can't possibly access. For example, pipes. But at the same time, since it is goo, when it meets water, it does melt, and it has a significantly less health bar. So even in single player, you do need to constantly switch between the two characters to progress in the adventure, but in co-op, where there's more talking and playing individual roles, I did find my time more enjoyable playing this game when I was playing with a friend compared to playing by myself. With all that being said, there are a few things I don't like about the game, so let's go through them very quickly. And the first one is the battling mechanism of the game. So yes, in the game there are 17 different levels, and each level, despite having their unique bosses, which are hard to beat, there are only I think 6 or 7 different types of ghosts, so most of the time all the battles are very repetitive and generic. I think I played around 11 to 12 floors, and that's where the burn effect kind of hit me and I started to feel the repetitiveness in the battles, and the game kind of got a little boring for me from that point onwards. I mean, I do understand that this game is tailored towards kids, so you don't want the battling mechanisms to be overcomplicated, but I felt like they could have thought about it a bit further and made it just a tad more interesting. It really got generic and repetitive later in the game. Another issue I had with the game was the shopping mechanism. So at the very start of the game, where I didn't have access to store yet, I already gathered a lot of gold coins. I think in the first hour of playthrough, I gathered around 50k gold coins, and I was like, oh, what can I do with all this money? And it turns out you can't do anything with that money. So there are only 3 different items you can buy, being a gold bone, which is essentially a revival item, and a gem and boo finder. So both the second and third item are collectibles finders, which tells you where the respective gem or boo is. But apart from that, this game did not have any collectibles, well, not collectibles, any items for sale. So I was like, at the end of the game, I had like 400k gold coin. I was like, well, what am I going to do with all that money? I bought every single item I could possibly buy, and there I go with all that money. And what makes this worse is that later in the game, as coins don't really have any uses, and on each level there are only 6 gems to collect, it really discourages me to keep exploring once I got all 6 gems, because I felt like, well, all the other rooms are just gonna have cash, or maybe a boo if I'm lucky. And I have all these gold coins already where I don't know what to do with it. So that kind of made me want to rush a bit later in the game. So again, just like the battling mechanism, I felt like they could have used a bit more thought on items for sale. And finally, I guess this complaint goes more towards Nintendo and all its first-party IPs, instead of just Luigi's Mansion 3 by itself, and that is the length and the price of this game. So, like all Nintendo first-party titles, this game is $60 US and 80 Australian dollars down here in Australia. So it is a full big budget title. And as I keep saying, I collected all the gems, so I've at least 80 to 90% finished the game. And the whole playthrough took me around 14 hours. So if you weren't a collector, you were just pushing through the levels, I think it's safe to say you can finish the game in around 10 to 12 hours. This complaint goes not only towards Luigi's Mansion, but a lot of the first-party Nintendo Switch games I have played. So I think I finished Kirby Star Allies in around 8 hours, I finished Donkey Kong in around 12 to 14, Luigi's Mansion was 14, Yoshi's Crafted World was around 14, and Link's Awakening was around 12. I think the only game I was able to play 20 plus hours was Captain Toad Treasure Tracker, and ironically enough, this is the only game that is 60 Australian dollars out of all the games I just mentioned. Like, I do understand you can't make every single game Super Mario Bros. Or Super Mario Odyssey that goes for 30, 40, 50 hours, but it really boils down to the same conversation every single time. When I can spend the same amount of money on a game that's like Fire Emblem, which is also really fun, but lasts me 100 to 200 hours, is this game and its 12 to 14 hours really worth the full $60 price tag? I think it's really debatable. So is it worth it? Well, that conversation is so subjective that I don't even want to carry it on, but for me personally, it is very, very, very barely worth it. I'm not saying it's a bad game, I did enjoy it, and I do think it could work as a really good family or co-op experience. But if you are a new Switch owner that only picked up your Switch V2 or a Nintendo Switch Lite just a couple of months back, do not pick this game up because there are so many good titles you have to play before buying this game for the full $60 price tag. And that's it, guys. That's kind of just my personal opinion on Luigi's Mansion 3. I do apologize if I look down at any part of this video because recently my emotional status has not been at its best. But anyways, back to this game. Have you already picked it up and played it? Did you enjoy it? Are you thinking about picking this game up, or have you learned a little something from this video? Let's talk in the comment section down below, and I'll see you guys on Friday. Why Friday, you may ask? Well,